Welcome to the Subex podcast. I'm Archana and your host for today. I have some exciting news to share with you about Subex's partnership with Biaas for IRSF Data Intelligence. To help us understand about this in detail about how will Rock FMS customers benefit from this partnership, I have with me our very own Nithin Gangadharan, who is the product director for Rock Fraud Management, and a very special guest, that's Guy Howie, who is the founder and director at Biaas. Gentlemen, welcome you guys to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Archana, for having me on this podcast.
Thanks for having me too.
Okay. Welcome you guys once again. So without wasting any more time, Nithin, let me start with you. What is the importance or relevance of having real-time threat intelligence in this today's digital world?
Yeah, Archana. So I think that's a very important question, and it's a very important role, right? So if you really see the fraudsters and the fraud management teams, or let's say the fraud and security teams, normally play a cat and mouse game, right? And they are always trying to stay ahead of each other. So fraudsters do not need to get it every time right. But the fraud professionals have to get it right every time, and they need to ensure that the services are protected from fraud every time. And this is where I believe that the intelligence really helps. Traditionally, due to various reasons, fraud professional community has not been very effective in this collaboration. But in this modern era where information is available in fingertips, and we need to really change that. And I believe threat intelligence will help to change that and increase the efficiency of the fraud detection process.
Okay, great. So my next question would be to Guy. This is where your role comes into play, wherein you're giving access, you have the threat intelligence information which the fraud teams can utilize. So will you be able to help us understand how did all this happen? How did Bias began, and how did the FNR database happen?
Yes, I can answer that. Thank you. So it was in 2006 that Bias was formed by myself. I'm a chartered accountant from many years ago, and I myself, like many of your customers, used to work in revenue assurance with a bit of fraud management and margin assurance. And at the time, it was clear here in the UK there was a market need for an accurate database of international destinations. It was primarily needed for billing in the big telcos, because they used to charge a premium for calls to international mobile destinations, etc. So we began developing our first database, GNRM, in 2006, and we managed to acquire some pretty good clients, people like BT, Virgin Media, Liberty Global Group, entities, etc. And I think it was about 4 years ago that we started development on the fraud intelligence database, which is called FNRM. We did this because some of our customers, they obviously have fraud systems, and they were a little bit frustrated because, as Nithin said, the fraudsters they're always trying to get ahead, and they're coming up with new frauds and new ideas, and the fraud systems were giving off lots of false alarms and false positives and creating lots of work, and some of the frauds were being kind of undetected because the fraudsters were getting so clever. So they wanted some really, really good reference data that they could put into their fraud systems to help them close down some of these frauds more quickly and do it with more certainty, identify the frauds with more certainty. So we set about developing FNRM 4 years ago to meet that need.
Okay. So Nithin, my next question is to you. So as we understand, we have tied up with Bias for the IRSF intelligence database. So will you be able to tell us that how do we currently manage IRSF in Rock FMS, and what are some of the challenges?
Sure. So we currently have multiple types of detection techniques that is currently available in our fraud management product. So one of the key capabilities is definitely the traditional threshold-based rules. So they have been over a period of time, they've been very effective, but obviously there has been a lot of challenges as well. And that is when we have now also introduced an AI ML based detection techniques that includes looking at behavior patterns of the customers, and then see are there deviations happening in these behavior patterns, and then detect IRSF frauds based on these changes, right? So these are the two different techniques that we currently have. Obviously, as far as challenges goes, there are challenges in rules where we are able to understand that we are not able to understand exactly which number ranges are that which is suspicious, and what would be the threshold that need to be set, right? We are able to cover that to an extent using AI/ML technologies, because they can look at the historic pattern and then derive these patterns from there. But again, I strongly feel that when we have a reference database which is able to quantify that and quantify the risk associated to that particular destination, we will be able to take this even further.
Okay. Guy, as Nithin clearly pointed out, it's very important to have it's very important to have the right intelligence. So how do you actually gather this intelligence, and how do you actually how frequently do you update your database?
All good questions, thank you. So there's several types of data in the database, and we collect this information from different sources. So, for example, the unallocated data is collected, and it's in a sense devised by ourselves. We have 14 years experience of trying to understand which number ranges in the different countries around the world are allocated for what services, what purposes, and we've had to do this accurately for our customers for a long time. So we have all this documentation. We're plugged into all the regulators around the world. We're plugged into places like the ITU. We get carrier price lists, etc. And all of these places, these sources of information, together tell us when something is changing in the world, and is it an allocated destination or is it an unallocated destination? So we're forever looking at this regulatory and carrier type information. We're also doing traffic analysis using the cooperation of our customers, of course, but analysing the traffic to understand what destinations are live, etc., which destinations are unused. So there's a wealth of information that we use from lots of different places. The cost information we receive comes from carrier prices and publicly available price lists from around the world. We also use the GSMA information in there. And for some of our information, we effectively go up to, I think there's over 100 websites which publish some form of information about IRSF test numbers that are used by fraudsters. So we have processes in place, daily processes, where we harvest that information, we cleanse it, and we make it accurate and available for our customers. So the different data sets, some of them are updated and published on a monthly basis, which works with the operational cycles of our clients. Others can be available for daily updates if that's necessary.
Oh, that's perfect. So Nithin, I think as Guy rightly pointed out, there are different kinds of data sets, unallocated ranges, allocated ranges, they do traffic analysis and all of that. So can you help me understand, how will all this actually benefit Subex? How will this partnership benefit Subex?
Sure, Archana, and this is where we are really excited about this partnership. As I said earlier, we have multiple types of detection techniques which is currently available in our product. We believe that by bringing this intelligence into our platform, our tools will get even more intelligent. So for example, if you're coming from a threshold based engine perspective, now it is possible to have very specific thresholds configured, segregated by let's say a high cost destination, or let's say an IRSF destination, or even go take a range of numbers and then monitor these range of numbers basically based on what the intelligence is saying, right? And this is definitely going to increase the efficiency of the fraud detection, compared to just having a flat threshold for a particular country as such, right? So that's really helpful. And we already have a list management capability within the product where the Biaas database is going to be directly integrated to. Even in the AI ML space, we believe it is going to really help as well, because in machine learning techniques, again, it is good to have reference data. So it would be good that we will be able to use this reference data to help machine learning algorithms learn better, which again increases the efficiency of the detection process.
Okay, that's interesting, Nithin. So, Guy, can you help me understand any more key highlights of this database? How is it different from other databases that are available in the market?
I'll try. I think the most important thing that we have is accuracy. We've got as I said, a 13, 14-year track record of having accurate data in our databases. It's always been used for billing of consumer customers, and these are customers who would spot it if there was an error in their bill. So we are very, very accurate in our databases, and we take a lot of pride in that, and we take a lot of time with internal processes in Biaas to make sure the data sets stay up to date and stay accurate for our customers. Okay, I think the second important thing is we do offer from ourselves a broad set of data types. Okay, as we mentioned, we have unallocated destinations, allocated destinations, higher cost destinations, higher risk destinations. We've even got information about digit string lengths of international B numbers and how they should conform to the national regulations. And of course, the International Revenue Share Fraud Test Number database. All of those databases are maintained by us to a very high standard, and we're kind of a one-stop shop for this kind of stuff. It's our speciality. Okay, I think on top of that, the pricing which we try to put in place is accessible, and also finally, the most important thing is we do offer a fantastic help desk service for companies if they've got questions about international destinations. We've got very clever staff working for Biaas who can answer those questions with the intelligence we have in a quick and proper way to delight customers going forward.
Oh, that's awesome, Guy. So as you rightly pointed out, there is nothing more important than accuracy when it comes to all of this. So, Nithin, how will all this be made available to our Rock FMS customers?
Sure. As I said, we are really excited about this collaboration, and there are a couple of things as far as the integration goes, right? So, first of all, the database itself is going to be made available as a service, and we'll be able to enable this to our customers at the earliest, right? So that's one of the aspect. The integration itself will be done to our list management. So there is going to be an element of data flowing from our cloud servers into their premise, by which this intelligence will be made available on the product, right? And once it is made available, the users would be able to use this database to configure various patterns and various thresholds and use them in the machine learning techniques as highlighted earlier.
Okay, that's perfect, Nithin. I think thank you so much for your time, and we are really excited to be partnering with Biaas to provide IRSF data intelligence to our customers, and we hope that our customers get the max out of this partnership and they avail the services. And thank you once again for listening to our podcast. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Nithin, for sparing your time and joining us for the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Archana. Thanks a lot.